It's the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show, and today I'm pleased to have Colin Abrahall of GBH on the show. How you doing today, Colin?
Doing good, thank you.
What was your life like growing up in Birmingham, England?
Hard at the beginning. My mum died when I was 11. There was 5 brothers and sisters. And then my dad remarried, and we had a 3-day week. There was power cuts. But looking back, it was it was hard, but it was fun. So a good lesson for life, to a springboard to send you away.
Were you angry?
No, probably more confused than angry.
Were your parents friend or foe?
Friend, until I got to about 13, 14, and then foe, I suppose.
Really?
But that's natural teenage rebellion. I think everyone goes through it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough, it was the birth of punk rock at the same time, so I had something to grab onto to rebel,
What was your first exposure to punk rock music?
Was hearing the Ramones tune, who's a punk rocker, on the radio in England, and I just thought, wow, this is... I kind of I wasn't totally into music at the time, I just liked the occasional song that was in the charts or whatever. But as soon as I heard that, I thought, wow, it sounds kind of old, like old rock and roll, but new and different, and I wanted to be part of it.
What compelled you to want to be in a punk band? Compelled you?
I don't know, probably the other thing is you end up working in a factory, and there's two. Birmingham's like a real working class industrial town, and the only way you could escape ending up being in a factory is was sport, becoming a footballer, or music. And we had like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and all Birmingham bands. So that was someone else to. Not that I'm really into those bands either, but just the fact that they're from Birmingham and they were successful at what they did was
encouraging to you. And then the English beat too. They're Dave Wakeling.
They're from Birmingham. Yeah, we know Roger really well. We knew him before he was in the beat.
Wow.
He was just a friend. One of the guys that hung out at the Crown, which was the pub that we drank in. And he was in a band called the Dum Dum Boys, where he was the drummer, like a punk band. And then he joined the beat, and then he was Hollywood star.
What is your favorite song off the Public Image first edition?
Public Image.
I like Annalisa and I like Low Life.
The whole album's good.
Yeah, I never had heard an album that was so sparse but so powerful, and the bass is so strong on that album.
Yeah, when I first heard the song, the single Public Image, I thought, wow, this is just as good as the Pistols was. And then when you hear more of their stuff, it's kind of more experimental, and but I'll still listen to it.
Metal Box was kind of trippy for me. What is your greatest fear?
Running out of Rizzlers.
How would you define the word love?
Impossible to define because it's so all-encompassing and huge.
What is the most unselfish thing you've ever done for somebody?
I can't think. I can tell you of someone that did something to me, like a random act of kindness. We were in Nashville, Tennessee, in the hotel, and I was talking to the guy on the desk, and he found out we were English, and he went, "Oh, this other guest is from Northampton in England." And I met the guy. I said, "Oh, I remember Northampton. We played there. I lost my Elvis Zippo lighter, in the dressing room. Couldn't find it." Anyway, the next day I went to the reception, and the guy on the desk said, "Come out, we've got a present for you." And him and the other girl behind the desk had been out and bought me an Elvis Zippo lighter, and I was touched.
Do you think that has anything to do with hero worship? That these people worship you because you're a star?
No, they didn't know who we were. So just, I don't know. Elvis.
What would you like your legacy to be?
He was a good bloke, something like that.
Do you believe evil exists? And if so, what does it look like?
It looks like Donald Trump.
Do you have a perception of what's really going on in the world, or what the media wants you to believe is going on in the world?
Everyone has got a basic perception. There's the rich and powerful who decide to make all the laws, and then there's the rest of us, basically. That's it.
Do you believe that they have your best interests in mind?
No, they have their own best interests in mind. and always have done, which is why they are where they are.
Do you believe that it is their wish to enslave humanity?
Probably, yeah. As long as they're on top, they don't care.
If forced to, would you allow a corporate or a government entity to implant you with a RFID chip in your hand or body or brain?
No, I'd resist.
Even if they said they were going to behead you?
Well, you wouldn't have much choice then, would you?
Well, I mean, but you could live as a slave?
You'd rather die than, I don't know. At this moment in time, I'd say no, I'd resist, but it might change if I was waterboarded.
How would you describe your worldview during the formation of GBH?
Quite innocent and basic, I think. You know, we'd talk what's right and wrong, and then you make the choice. And we just wanted to have fun and entertain ourselves and keep us off the streets. And it's all down to a love of music. That's what it's all about.
What has been your secret to not becoming a casualty of sex, drugs, and rock and roll over the last 30 years?
Willpower. I stopped drinking nearly 7 years ago.
How has not drinking and being straight changed the experience of doing punk rock?
It's enhanced it, really, because you notice more, because when I used to drink, I had a very bad memory and stuff like that. But now you kind of see everything and hear everything and smell everything.
How did your life change after the release of 1982's City Baby Attacked by Rats and the 5-star review it received in Sounds magazine?
I think other people's perception of you changes when you get a little bit of success. I'm the same person now than I was then. It's nice to be flattered, but you know, there's a lot of bullshit involved, and you have to know that most of it is bullshit.
But when you're young, how are you able to just?
You're just excited, and you know, it's kind of what you dreamed of doing. You know, being a band, release an album, have a successful album, and that, you know, that's kind of what you're striving for. You don't want to make an album that no one listens to or everybody hates. It's flattering.
Was punk rock music the only thing you thought you had to contribute to the world when you were younger?
Yeah, I used to dream of being a footballer, and then one day it dawns on you that you're not going to be a professional footballer, and so I discovered music.
What inspired the lyrics to the song "The Prayer of the Realist"?
Well, it's just my view on religion. I'm an atheist, obviously, and I was just highlighting all the faults with religion.
People don't want to take responsibility anymore for their own actions. It's not about blaming things on God.
True.
You believe there's a victim mentality, which is very powerful in today's society.
Yeah, people are always blaming, you know, it's never their fault if they drive a car and kill someone. So, oh, it wasn't me. How
did your early association with the band Discharge lead to GBH securing a record deal with Clay Records?
Well, we were the sort of house band at the club in Birmingham, so we played with all the bands that came around touring, and Discharge were one of them, and we played with them, got on, became good friends, and then they said, give us a demo tape and we'll give it to the guy at Clay Records, which we did. He heard it and signed us to Clay Records.
That's so unlike the music business today, where everybody is...
It's all very simple and organic and not planned or anything, you know, it was just... And when he actually saw us play, Ross, our bass player, was late coming to the show, so we started without a bass player. And I think he turned up for the last song, and we were sitting in the dressing room afterwards thinking, oh, was that any good? You know, we couldn't work out. And this guy came in the dressing room and just went, oh, great show, guys, and disappeared. And we were going, who's that? And I go, Mike Stone, the head of Clay Records. And a couple of days later, he phoned me up and said, you know, I want to sign you. So we ran up to Stoke-on-Trent, and our advance was the return coach fare back to Birmingham, which was about £2.50 in them days.
They're so generous, aren't they?
Yeah, but we had an armful of albums as well, because he owned a record store.
What do you love about your fellow GBH mates, Colin, Jock, Blyth, Ross Lomas, bass, and Scott Priest, the drummer? What do you love about these guys?
Oh, we're like like brothers, I suppose, like a family. And if some of us are down, there's always one who's in a good mood, if you know what I mean. And we make each other laugh all the time, even in tight spots we've been in and stuck in customs, and something funny will happen and we'll just all end up laughing.
What is your secret to surviving all these years?
I don't know. If we knew it, we probably wouldn't be together. I've been friends with Ross since we were 10 years old.
You guys played football together.
How old were we? About 10 then, so you're just starting to wake up to the world and think, I'm going to have to get a job. But mind you, you don't think that far ahead when you're that age. You just want girls and football and stuff like that.
Everything's so immediate. Do you believe your music can still have a social impact after 30 years?
Yeah, well, some of the subjects we sang about are still as relevant today, war and stuff like that, and injustice, and so we're relevant.
What do you consider your greatest achievement to date?
Still being here after all this time and all the shit we've gone through, bad times and stuff like that, just to still be here.
What does GBH think of the Me Too movement?
We'd be behind it, I think. We're not sexist guys, although in the early days we were considered sexist because we got a song called Big Women and stuff like that. But we were 17 years old. Benny Hill was popular, and we were just doing what we thought Benny Hill would do if he was a punk. But I can understand nowadays why it's offensive. Well, I think it's always been going on ever since movies were being made. There was always a casting couch and stuff like that. But I think people are more aware of it, and communication with Twitter and Facebook and is just so instant and all encompassing. It covers the world. There's no hiding place. Well, I know 2 different guys in punk bands that have been accused of stuff, and it's ruined their lives basically.
What was the best part of longtime friend Lars Fredriksson producing your album Perfume and Piss in 2010?
We didn't see him. We just recorded it and did a basic mix and said we want it to sound roughly like this, and just sent him the hard drive, and then he just sprinkled fairy dust on it and stuff. But he did the last album as well, Momentum, and we did the same thing. We recorded it in Birmingham, did a basic mix, sent it to him and Michael Rose and this other guy mix it, and then email each track to us so we can listen. It's a bit more guitar, a bit less, whatever. It works.
How important is fame to you, and could you live without it?
Yes. Not important. Yes, I could live without it. Although I'm not that famous, if you know what I mean. But it does intrude in your life. Why
a 7-year wait between 2010's Perfume and Piss and your new album Momentum?
There's no rush. We've got nothing to prove. No one's standing behind us with a whip going, do an album. We do it when the time's right, because we're always touring, so we don't get a lot of time to write new stuff, but we tend to do it in little blocks of 3 or 4 songs when we've got time to do it. And there's no rush. We're not young kids or nowadays you get a 1 album deal, I think. Mm-hmm. And most of the contracts we've had, they've always been 3 albums, so you get a chance to sort of bed yourself in and go from there.
Do you consider yourself to be more successful now because there's more of these festivals everywhere that want you to play?
Yeah, we've never stopped playing in 39 years. We've never had any time off really. Everyone's got tattoos and mohawks and coloured hair, and we used to get beat up for having tattoos and tight trousers, even ridiculous things like that. We feel like the world sort of finally caught up with us, or accepts us or whatever.
How has the Hellcat Records experience differed from some of the other labels you've been on, and do you think that's because it's run by Tim Armstrong?
Yeah, well, it's part of Epitaph, and Brett is the head of Epitaph, and they've all been in bands, they know what's going on. So they're nice people.
What inspired the title of your new album, Momentum?
That's what we are. We're all about momentum. We never stop. Because sometimes if you have a week off or something, when you get back into it, it's kind of hard to get back into it. And so momentum's the best thing. Just keep going. a moving target's harder to hit.
What inspired the lyrics to the song No News?
Just the basic news on the television, where even if there isn't any news, they have to report news 24 hours a day, and the ticker thing at the bottom, and even if it's nothing, they'll talk about a paint can, or it's kind of annoying.
Liquid Paradise.
Liquid Paradise is I started writing it about our drummer, because he likes a drink, if you know what I mean, and then I realised it was probably about me as well, because I'd stopped drinking. So when you stop, you sort of realise what you had been doing. But the lyrics are all about his adventures in life.
Us Against the World.
That's about the band, really. You know, at the end of the day, there's us four versus the world.
I never asked for any of this.
That's another song about being in a band. It's a kind of joke. Like, we'd walk into a dressing room and there'll be a big spread of something that we didn't ask for or anything. And as a joke, we said, I never asked for any of this, and so it turned into a song.
What's next for Colin and GBH?
We tour in America, then we go back to Europe for a bit, then we go to South America, then we go to Europe, and then I think we've got one show in Malaysia and one show in Borneo in December, and then that'll be it for 2018, and then 2019, more of the same.
This is a Blairing Out with Eric Blair show with Colin of GBH signing off.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Blairing Out show.